Alright, so today I want to show you one of my snakes that I got for free. Believe it or not, I got a free ball python on Craigslist quite a few years ago. I got it as a hatchling and I grew it up, and it was actually a female. I didn't know if it was a male or female, and it laid some eggs. Pretty amazing. So I want to show you that female. I want to give it a name, and then I kind of want to give you an update on my breeding progress here in my reptile room. I want to go through and kind of check on all the eggs that I have in my incubator, maybe show you some of my hatchlings, and I want to show you a couple of females that I'm pretty sure are gonna lay some eggs. Alright, so take a look at this big old snake. This is my female normal number one. We definitely need a better name than female normal number one. And I have a kind of an interesting story behind this girl. I actually got her on Craigslist quite a number of years ago. I think it's been about 4 years since I picked her up. And I went to the house and answered the ad on Craigslist, and the guy had a roommate that moved out and left his snake behind, and he didn't really know anything about snakes and decided to take care of it. He's feeding this girl like one adult mouse once a month, and let me tell you, it was the size of a hatchling and about a year old. It was crazy. I was like, are you sure this is a year old? I could not believe how small it was. And when I got the snake the first week, I started feeding it like adult mice, and I fed like 3 mice in the first week, and it just started pounding food like crazy, and it grew like a rocket. It grew faster than all my other hatchlings until it finally got to a size where I bred it. I actually had some really good eggs from this, and this year I bred it with my, as a matter of fact, I bred it with my bamboo lesser, which is a blue-eyed leucistic. It's an all-white snake, and if she would have went this year, I would have had half bamboos and half lessers. And the problem is she didn't go, and then she started eating again. She's eaten several rodents just here lately, so I don't think she's going to breed this year, which is kind of a bummer. And you never know with these ball pythons. And kind of the cool thing about this is I've had some people take a look at this and say, hey, I think you might have some other gene in the mix. It may not just be a normal. And you know what they call those? They call those dinkers, right? Because you're not 100% sure if something's in there. But the thing that I kind of noticed on this one is it has a really super dark background. Look at how black the background is, super jet black. And kind of the other interesting thing, if you look at some of the patterns, it's not like on the whole snake. You can see a lot of alien heads on the side of the snake, like the Roswell gray alien heads. But on some of the pattern, you get like this little thing right here. You know, I don't know if this is genetic or not, but you get this like little kind of like a hanging monkey or something right there as far as a pattern. And you never know if something's kind of, you know, going on with your snake or not. And look at the belly on this one. This has a really interesting looking belly as far as being just a normal. It almost looks like there might be something in there, but you know, I produced a bunch of hatchlings from this, and they all pretty much came out normal looking. Nothing really kind of, you know, I only had 1 clutch of eggs from this girl so far, but you never know if there's something in there where it randomly could mix with something and you could produce something really unusual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a name to this girl. We're going to finally give her a name other than normal female number one. That's kind of my generic name for this one. As a matter of fact, at one point I had four normals, and it was normal female number one, normal female number two, on and on and on. This one's name is Sunshine. Alright, so I have 2 boxes of eggs here. This is the next upcoming clutch that should hatch in about 2 weeks. Pretty awesome. This is actually a cross between my bamboo calico crossed with my pastel. So I should get pastel, bamboo, calicos, which is like the ultimate combination I absolutely love. As a matter of fact, I had 1 pastel bamboo calico and I sold it. I was like, I need to make another one, and I want to probably keep one from this if I can actually make one. So what I want to do is I just want to check on these real quick, make sure there's nothing bad going on in here. And what I like to do is just kind of do a quick check, and I like to take some paper towels and just kind of wipe down the humidity, especially from the top here, to get everything from, you definitely don't want the condensation dripping down in the eggs. And everything looks good so far. You can see on one egg, maybe it has a little bit of kind of like a reddish kind of like a mold or something on there. It's kind of crazy. You can actually get a little bit of mold on some of your eggs and they still hatch. which is really amazing. You can actually do some kind of like an antifungal powder or something like that, but usually it's not a problem at all. And what I want to do is I want to move this one over just a little bit, and there's a little bit of condensation right here on the side. I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit. Clean it up a little on the sides, and they look a little bit dimpled, but not too bad. You have to really watch that they don't dry out, because sometimes they can get so dehydrated and just kind of flatten out that they won't hatch. But at this stage of the game, you know, with only 2 weeks left to go, these look fantastic. This is what eggs are supposed to look like. This one's kind of a little bit on, you know, the kind of the fuzzy, moldy side, but that is really not a problem for ball python eggs, which is kind of crazy. And I just like to, you know, open them up, especially a couple times right towards the end. I usually go through these usually every week or 2 weeks. You don't want to let them go too long. And sometimes if you have a bad egg in there, you can smell it as soon as you open up the incubator door. And if you can smell a bad egg, you definitely want to get it out of there. So this is just half the clutch right here, and the other half of the clutch is in this box right here. So it was a really big clutch. It was a really big female, and hopefully I should hit the pastel bamboo calico. And kind of the crazy thing about the pastel with the bamboo is a lot of times you can't tell if you have pastel in your bamboos until they grow up a little bit. It's kind of weird. They start out looking exactly like the normal bamboos, and then as they age and mature, they get more and more yellow as they go. And this one has a lot of condensation. Look at all this. I'm glad it didn't drip on the eggs. You want to be really careful that none of that drips on the eggs. So if it starts raining down on the eggs, a lot of times you can, you know, kind of promote the mold, and you definitely don't want that. So those look fantastic. A little bit dimpled, and at this stage of the game, that's about what they should be, you know, kind of what they should look like. And if you actually have, it seems like sometimes you can have a lot more humidity in the box. I've actually seen some where they look like they're just laid right when they're hatching, like completely full and firm, which is kind of unusual. You definitely, I'd say probably, you know, on average, you want the eggs to be just a little bit dimpled, just like that. And as a matter of fact, if they're a little dimpled, it's a little easier to cut them. Usually once the hatchling starts cutting the eggs, I like to kind of make a little crease in there and just cut it with the scissors and then peek in. But we definitely don't want to cut them 2 weeks early. Usually I wait until about half of them are kind of, you know, cutting the eggshells before I'll actually go in and cut them. So that looks fantastic. We should get a bunch of bamboos, some calicos, some pastels, and of course you can always get some normals from a combination like this. So here's an egg, one single egg that I didn't really expect. As a matter of fact, this is from my bumblebee that laid a whole clutch of slugs. I didn't think she was gonna lay anything. I looked in there one day and there's a whole bunch of slugs and this one egg that looked like it was kind of a weird boob egg. And it's looking kind of funky. I don't know if this one's gonna go or not. It's kind of looking almost like a purplish lavender color, which is kind of weird. It definitely is looking pretty ripe. I don't know if this one's gonna hatch or not. It doesn't smell bad, and this one isn't gonna hatch until August 6th, so I'm still hopeful on this one. This is kind of an iffy one. That snake was really super small. I can't believe it laid any eggs at all. But this is the one this is from the mom that always bites me, my really mean female. So it'd be interesting to see if this thing actually hatches. Alright, so here's another box of eggs. This is a really exciting collection. As a matter of fact, hasn't been too long since this one was laid. Still have 36 days before these hatch. This one is really exciting. This is my bamboo calico crossed with a lemon blast, which is a pastel pinstripe. So we'll get even more crazy results. We'll be able to get the pastel, pinstripe, calico, bamboo combinations, which as a matter of fact, if one of those actually comes up with all the genes in this one, I might keep this one instead of the other one, trying to get multi-gene combos in my collection. And kind of the cool thing is I had one of them with no veins at all. It'll be kind of interesting to see if this one has anything. I'm going to kind of take a peek in this one. This one we thought might have been a slug with nothing in it. Usually you can't really see anything. I don't know if I can see this even in the dark. Oh, well, as a matter of fact, take a look at this. I want to show you this. This is kind of crazy. You can tell with the lights out. This is the one that we didn't see any veins at all. Take a look at that. That is the one we thought was a slug. This is the first time I've ever seen an egg that is full size and a slug. Take a look at that. I've never seen a full-size slug before. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And we didn't see any veins in it when they first came out. And usually if you have an infertile egg, usually it's a lot smaller and a different color than all the other eggs, which is kind of crazy. And all these, look at this. This looks really fantastic. They all are nice and plump and firm. Those are all doing really well. So I wanted to give you a quick update on some of these hatchlings that, if you've been watching my video, we hatched out a bunch of hatchlings and they still haven't shed. This is, as a matter of fact, we had a lot of debate as far as what these are, the identification of them. A lot of people thinking this one is a super pastel, and look at how faded it is because it hasn't quite shed yet. And then this one, a lot of people are saying that this one right here, a lot of people thought that this was the super pastel calico Enchi 100%. All these are 100% het desert ghost. And look at that crazy pattern on this one. And it's kind of weird. I thought I had cinnamon in my collection. A lot of people are saying no, they don't think that I have cinnamon in here. And I started thinking, you know, on my female, if I had cinnamon and pastel, it would be a pewter, which at first I didn't think it was actually a pewter until I actually looked over on Morphmarket. And if you actually look up cinnamon pastel calico, there's one over there that looks almost exactly like my female with all the genes with cinnamon. So most people are saying there's no cinnamon in this, that this is just the super pastel Enchi calico. But really, you have to really wait until a lot of these shed out so you're going to really see. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about holding back a lot of these and use them as breeders and trying to prove them out to see if we can kind of figure out what genes are in the mix. Kind of amazing combinations. Alright, so I actually have a whole bunch of females that might go. I bred like 18 females this year, and probably half of them aren't going to go because I used some males that were too small. And then I have two that I'm pretty sure 100% are going to go, and one of them, take a look at this girl. This is a really big pinstripe. Take a look at this. She hasn't eaten in months, and look at how big and fat she is. She's definitely going to lay some eggs. And every day I open up the tub thinking she's going to be on a whole pile of eggs one of these days. And you can almost tell she's almost like sucking in her tail. It looks like she's really close. I think these are the next eggs that are gonna come into my collection here. And I actually bred my Coral Glow with this. My Coral Glow 100% het pied. So it's always interesting breeding something where you have a het pied into something where you've never proved out the pied. You never know exactly what's in here. So, you know, for all I know, this could be het pied and we can get some visual pieds, but in all likelihood, we'll probably get like 50% het pieds for all the offspring. And one of the coolest things I was really shooting for is the Coral Glow pinstripes, which are really awesome. And my Coral Glow is a male maker, so if we get Coral Glow pinstripes, they'll all be males, and they will all be male makers, which is kind of a unique anomaly with the Coral Glows and the bananas. And there's one more I wanted to show you down here. This is kind of an interesting project down here. This is my caramel albino. Speaking of caramel albino, I just did a video on caramel albino, and I'm shooting for some visuals. And take a look at this girl. She's been like wrapping in the bowl and soaking. It looks like she might be going into a shed. So I'm thinking I might be about 30 days away from getting some eggs from this girl. But take a look at how big she is. This one's probably close to 5,000 grams. And every time these big females lay, they lay like, you know, between 13 and 15 eggs. And I bred, as a matter of fact, I bred one of her offspring back to her that is 50% het caramel albino. This is 100% het caramel albino. So I'm hoping I can produce some visuals, and that male is actually a scaleless head. So I'll probably produce maybe the world's first scaleless head visual caramel albino. Of course, I'm eventually going for a completely scaleless caramel albino, which would be pretty awesome. Alright, so there you have it. That is my ball python breeding season. I have hatchlings in the hatchling rack, eggs in the incubator, and females that are getting ready to lay. And it's always interesting with ball pythons, you can actually get eggs from the beginning of the summer all the way almost sometimes into the fall. It's kind of crazy. They kind of spread out the eggs. And that's one of the reasons I pretty much stop breeding usually in February, so you don't end up with a lot of ball pythons laying really late in the fall. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.